Hi, everyone. Terri Sullivan, CEO and founder of Waypoint. Nice to see you all. Today, we are going to be talking with an esteemed group of panelists, and our focus is going to be on really capturing more organic leads from your website, helping you reduce your dependency on third-party leads, also maximizing your ROI on your website so you can leverage that website to deliver more quality leads for your sales teams, and of course, data and an understanding. And I'm joined by some pretty amazing people. So I'm going to pass it over to Seth. Seth, why don't you give a quick intro to yourself and the company?
Absolutely. I'm Seth Lawson, Sales Director at Threshold 360. We are an immersive tour technology. Last 5+ years, been in the travel and tourism space. Ultimately, our tech integrates seamlessly with your Google business profiles, your community websites. It enhances the visitor experience and ultimately drives more calls, clicks, and conversions across your marketing and sales channels.
Awesome. Ted, you want to go ahead?
Sure. My name is Ted DeBettencourt. I'm one of the founders here at Juvo Leads. We are a human-powered chat answering service. We have real people answering chats on your website 24/7, 365, taking those conversations and turning them into lead and hopefully move-ins for your communities.
Awesome. Dean, go right ahead, Dean.
All righty. My name is Dean Tendrich. I'm Vice President of Marketing and Sales for Alta Senior Living. We have 2 regional offices, one out west in California, which is responsible for communities west of the Rockies. And I oversee the communities for Alta in the Florida region at the moment. As we are continuing to grow, we may expand outside the Florida market.
Great. Are you mainly IL/AL memory care, Dean, or what is the service levels of your company?
My communities in Florida are mostly AL memory care combinations.
Okay.
We do have, though, a dedicated memory care community, which is just about to open and state of the art. We also have a community in Margate that really does mimic and borders on a true independent living community, but also has AL and memory care.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Tammy, you're on.
Hi, I'm Tamara Sunderman. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing for Alta Senior Living. I have been in this industry too many years to say, but it's a long time. So we have 43 communities that are up and running with taking residents and fully operating. And then we have 7 communities that are in the ground that we're pre-leasing on. So a total of about 50 communities. We're all Midwest to east of, I think Kevin likes to say, Mississippi. So we are expanding in there. We're in like Florida, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee, Illinois, Maryland, Virginia, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, Iowa, and I think I've got them all. Oh, Michigan, Wisconsin. I think that was all of them. We're like in 13 different states.
Your memory is just fine.
Yeah. We do IL, memory care, and assisted living. And I have 4 regionals underneath me, and we're just helping seniors on a daily basis.
That's
live
awesome.
better.
Awesome. And just going back to what we do at Waypoint, we basically have a hub, or what we might call our navigator, that sits on senior living provider websites. And it's more like a hub where we can integrate all different types of products into it, like Juvo Leads live chat, or a virtual tour product like Threshold 360, in addition to a lot of other things like scheduling a tour. So happy to be here and happy to contribute to the conversation as well. So it's great to meet everybody. So we can go ahead and kick off the conversation. Today, what we're hoping to deliver, and we just talked about that before through this conversation, is just helping you deliver better ROI on your digital marketing spend, as well as the spend on your website, right? So how do you convert more of your own traffic and reduce that need on third-party lead generators? Hopefully give you some tips and tricks on how to leverage that most expensive, valuable place that you have, your homepage, And then also maybe how you could combine certain tools to create, I like to say, a better experience for your website visitors, meet them where they are in their search journey, and then help them convert in a way that they're comfortable converting in. Buyers have changed significantly. So, I mean, today we know we all saw the huge impact of the pandemic, and I definitely don't want to spend any time on that, but it definitely created changes in the space where people are doing more of their research online, right? So 67% of consumers are, doing their buying online or search process online. I heard yesterday a company tell us that 75% of their people are coming to them on their mobile devices, right? Buyers are more educated. They want to drive more of their own experiences. They want to learn what they want to learn. They want more self-service. They definitely don't want to be sold. And also, they're looking really for two main things. They want to make sure that the lifestyle of the senior living community that is offering fits for them, right? If this is right for me. And then also, can I afford it? So I think those are the two main things. And maybe Tammy and Dean, maybe you could kick us off with maybe what you've seen around this with today's buyers. Does this ring true to you? And are you seeing that in your businesses as well?
Tammy, you go first.
Yeah, I think that we're getting a lot more leads from the digital space and internet. They're searching a lot more with through our PPC leads and our SEO. I mean, we have put a big, and Terri, you know this, we've put a huge emphasis on our SEO and trying to drive leads to our website. And then once they're there, what we do to get them converted. And we have tried a lot of different things. And I think we're getting to what I want to say is the sweet spot with getting those converted and trying to do everything we can to not be reliable on the paid referral. So I think that is very important. And then coming out of COVID as really getting back to basics. This has been my year to tell everybody, let's get back to basics. I don't want to hear about COVID. We're over COVID. Let's get back to doing what we used to do 2 to 3 years ago that we know would create relationships and create referrals and help us with lead generation and get back to doing our grassroots marketing. It is about building the relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. And the saying how misery loves company. I take great comfort in knowing that a terrific company like Charter with 50 some odd units, and we as Alta, we're relatively new as a company. We're seasoned veterans, but we're young as a company. And in particular for Florida, a lot of our properties, with the exception of Palm Beach Memory Care, which is from the ground up, from dirt, the communities, the assets that we have acquired, were underserved, undermanaged, borderline neglected in terms of any sort of platform for digital marketing, internet presence in the space, and incredibly, with the exception of Tequesta Terrace, for example, Waterside Landing and Legacy at Highwoods Preserve in the Tampa market, New Tampa, they were very difficult to find, almost isolated and hidden from the community that you wouldn't have known about for years, even if you lived across the street. So our first order of business when we acquired these assets was to get that internet presence going, to get the penetration into the marketplace. What I find interesting is you can spend all the money you want on pay-per-click, on SEO, on display ads, retargeting, and all that. And the singular goal is, of course, that funnel to get them into your TV station, which is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the World Wide Web. Once you get them there, that's where everything goes crazy. And you lose control, I think, in a regular sense with the consumer, because are they okay with the the bar and the way you designed it? Are you showing them what you want? The minute we got involved with 360, we saw a tangible change with our experience from going from people that we were getting traffic and traction, but we weren't able to, I think, immerse the consumer from the website to be able to really say to themselves, I identify with this. I see my mother here, or I see myself here with my husband, or I see this memory care would be great for my relative. So
A bird's eye view in, huh, Dean? Like a bird's eye view in.
Yeah, it's a subjective view, right? Because you're looking at it and experiencing it in real time, and you're in that space that a three-dimensional can do when as a flat image cannot. So I think it's part of it. It's not all of it, but it's part of it. We've gone from almost a negligible report through we use Yardi CRM. We didn't even have a category that talked about website conversions 6 months ago. And now we're 15 to, in some cases, 20% of our leads now are coming directly and organically from the website. Because as soon as they get to any of our websites, we've got 360 right there with a book a tour button. Some of our people aren't even getting down into the second or third rung of the pages. So I think that's part of it. I like the idea what Tamara is doing with the chat. I think that's very effective, especially if it's a real person, because there's nothing worse than talking to Hillary at a car dealership and there's no such person. So, well, but this is part of it.
It's funny that you say that, Dean, because I think that what I am, it's like I've been doing this a long time, and I say all the time to my people and to the buildings, like I'm like, I used to sell when there wasn't any internet and we didn't have a place for mom and we didn't have all these things, and I had to get my butt out there and I had to market, I had to do it. I had to hit the pavement. So why aren't you? I'm always just kind of like doing that, but trying to keep up on how fast the market is changing and how fast the consumer is changing as well. And I think that with that, and what I feel I'm kind of figuring out is that it can't be one layer. It can't be just about chat. It can't be just about 360 virtual tour that they can click on your page. There has to be layers, and that is the one thing that I know with talking with Terri of having the navigator tool on our website is that we have things that they can easily grab from. We have do you need a booklet, a guide, or a piece of collateral that you need right now that you're looking for that they can click on? Do you just want to, we have an Ask the Expert where they can email a question so it's not so invasive. They're not, sometimes that family, they're not ready to just actually talk to somebody, and they might feel easier or better to open up with what our Ask the Expert click. And then we have the live chat, that they can do questions. So we're trying to meet that consumer on whatever level they are at the time that they come onto your webpage, because, I know that you can lay it out, and I work with our web design people all the time. It's like, well, we've got this button and you can go here for the floor plans, blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you really, I feel like everybody's coming to our website, they're looking at that tool and they're just picking the different things that are interesting them. And I will tell you, and I've shared this with Terri, since we've done that, we have increased our web conversions by 20%. I mean, we are now getting, right now, I just pulled up the data. So 46% of our leads are coming from paid, but we are closing the gap because 33% is coming from our website. And
Right.
it was not that way a year or so. So we've improved it,
That's what we're seeing.
by 20%. And what we're finding out is that the leads that are coming from our website are churning as often as much as the paid. So we're getting a higher qualified lead. Because if they're going to chat with somebody, or they're going to ask an expert, or they're going to download a piece of information that's going to be educational, they're more serious in their process. They're further down in your funnel. So that's just the things that we're thinking about when we're working on our website, of what we're doing to really be able to have it a layered effect. And then on top of that layer effect of what we've got going on in our website, we then try to pair it with our social media. Things that we have on our social media, we are having on our website. So it's just like different layers. So, you just can't have one layered effect.
Yeah, we have the same exact philosophy, same approach. We're just I don't know the entire history of Charter. I'm familiar with Charter, but I'm sure we're at the stage that Charter was at some point in Charter's life. And again, another parallel it's interesting that, maybe you're not as big as Brookdale or Atria, but you're certainly bigger than Alta Senior Living at the moment. And we're spending $15,000, $20,000 a month in referral fees. That's a lot of money to a small business. On your scale, that would translate to probably, hundreds of thousands.
I don't want to talk about it.
She refuses.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. But I agree 1,000%. We're all in the same boat in that regard. I do think that there is, and I tell my staff this all the time, if you feel like you're selling, you've lost the customer. Stop selling the customer. Inform, educate, empower, explain. And that was my philosophy when, and this maybe is a different topic.
No,
but
you're segueing right in, Dean. You're segueing right in.
Right into how I found Threshold 360 was they found me, and it's like one of those things. I never ever have done this before. But it's the most, I think, impactful relationship that we made based on one phone call. And I'm sure Seth can recall who it was that reached out that day. But it puts us on that path. I do agree. I like some of the techniques that you're doing there with Charter. I think that we all should be looking at that, because an informed customer, and this is not my slogan, this was a slogan from long ago when I was growing up here in South Florida, from a clothing store. An educated consumer is your best customer. These referral services are doing a good job, I think, for the most part. Many have their heart in the right place. But I think no one can explain the benefits of a community better than the community. And that's where you kind of lose control with some of these referral services, because their interest is tied to money in terms of getting the referral. So they're going to go to where they get the best chance of getting that referral. We have to meet the consumer while they're jumping in the funnel. And this allows us to not only create a category that was non-existent, but it also allows us to capture the lead before the big boys come to us with the lead. And that takes some skill, and they can afford it. And we can't afford to bleed out these referral fees, and as an industry we need to fix that. So I think we're leveling the playing field in the way that the provider can do it.
It's interesting because I found a couple of slides. I do some value-based training for sales folks in senior living, and there's a couple slides here that I included today that I think were really interesting. Like pre-pandemic, right? The salesperson or the sales team was more highly involved with the consumer, right? It's almost like a business to business sale where it's a committee sale, there's family, it's a complex decision, it's an expensive decision, it's an emotional decision, it's a physical decision. Someone literally has to move. And I think post-pandemic, what's really interesting is that although here it shows that sales plays a smaller role because marketing is playing more of a role on the whole education thing, to your point, Dean, right? The website really needs to educate, needs to show the why, it needs to show the value. Well, you need to see yourself living there. I always say that what's a salesperson's job in senior living is to help a person see themselves living there. That is like their only job, right? Understand their objectives and work them through the sales process. But I think at the end of the day, it even makes the salesperson's job even more, that much more critical, because they have an educated consumer that comes to them, and their job is really to build trust, to have better discovery, determine whether the person is a viable customer based on their financial and their other needs, and uncover their objections and, you know, find out what's important to them. And I think salespeople now are even that much more critical. Maybe their role is shorter or more condensed, but I almost feel like it's more important. Have you both invested in sales training for your teams to kind of meet this new change, where sales is really more critical? Because, you know, here we show 22 to 28 touch points for a sale for senior living. It's significant, right? And sales is a key piece to that.
Yeah, we have gone into some third-party consulting. You know, we present to our sales teams the Alta way, but we also know that you know, having a third party involved can sometimes be a benefit. So we've engaged that approach along in concert with the Alta policies and procedures.
Makes sense. Tammy, I know you guys do quite a bit of sales training. You're a Sherpa user. Yeah, if you want to get on that.
Yeah, we are Sherpa users. So we've done a few years ago, we've always like tweaked our Sherpa resources with our regional team, but then we take it to the communities through role playing our own. We have our own sales training that we take everyone through, and when they start Sherpa, I don't know if you have heard of Sherpa. I guess it's not Sherpa anymore. Oops. Align.
Oh, it's Align. Oh,
Align.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry,
Align. I know. Align. We are very much into prospect-centered selling. So we have always been on the journey with the prospect. And it's funny, like I've been known about Sherpa and have been using Sherpa for 13, 15 years now. But even before I knew of Sherpa, that's how I sold. You know, it wasn't about, like you said, you're not selling to somebody, you're talking to somebody, you're getting to know them, and you're meeting them where they are in their process and figuring out, you know, what is the best solution, and how can I help you and find the best resources for you. And that's always how Charter approaches everything. I mean, our mission statement is enhance the human spirit. So, and that's for our residents, for our communities, for our employees and our staff. So, you know, that's our core belief.
I mean, to piggyback on that, what is the good to the resident or the community if you accept a resident into your community that you might suspect would be better served elsewhere? This may fly in the face of conventional thinking, and operational directors or CEOs might be cringing as they're watching this. But at the end of the day, my experience has been if I have dealt with a family and I say to the family, listen, I would love to have your mom here, but I really think she needs to have an LNS license or an ECC license, or you know what, she needs memory care and I don't have that here, or whatever the case may be. Or you know what, your mom's really independent and you need to listen to her, and you guys aren't on the same page. So at the end of the day, I would rather tell somebody you're better off over here, and here's what's going to happen. That person is going to then tell someone else and goes, well, wait a second, this guy lost out on a sale. But at the end of the day, I know 90 days, 100 days in, we're going to have some issues here because of a continued residency, regulation in the Florida rules. That's going to, it just doesn't make sense. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to us. Why? So we can get the commission, you get the bonus. That's not what it's about for us. We want families and residents to understand that they are the top priority. That's our mission statement in Alta. And that applies to staff, residents, families. People are the top priority. So if they don't fit into our licensure, because we have very licensures, some are standard, some are LNS, we guide accordingly. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I wish more people would do that rather than, I can't tell you, and I know Tammy will tell you this, how many times do you have someone come through your front door, and once you go through the process, you realize that there was no way they should have been entered at the other community. There was no way they should have paid that $5,000 entry fee. It's borderline criminal. It happens. And you know what? Maybe it is criminal in some cases. Probably is. So for me, I would rather make the referral out professionally, only to get that back 10 times over. Not only from the family, but from my partner that I've worked with down the street. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I found this in Harvard, one of the Harvard Business Review articles. And really, I think it spoke really well to what's going on in the environment right now, right? It's not what can I sell you? It's really how can I serve you? Consumers, they don't want to be sold. They want to understand. They want you to drive them through the sales process to see if the solution is right for them, right? So simplifying the way you speak about your solution, I think is super key for this space, right? We use assisted living, independent living, memory care. But at the end of the day, what are you offering and how do you simplify that? And I'm seeing the websites get so much better at that, communicating the why and the lifestyle and using less of that language and more. I saw one today that was independent living with assistance, instead of assisted living, or I see the industry is trying to move towards better nomenclature to really talk about the space. Subject matter experts, when you're buying something, you want someone to know everything they can, and be able to really guide you through the process and focus more on the solution than the features and benefits. All right. It's what we're talking about. Being digitally open, which is why we're here talking, right? Is how do you make that digital space where people engage with you? And it's a holistic approach. Where are you putting your money? Tammy mentioned social media, PPC, the investment in your website itself, and then what tools are you using on your website to engage? It's this whole big picture. And then leveraging the data to know. I mean, Tammy said it, right? We saw our bump and so did you, Dean, on when we put these tools on our website. So I think in part of it, it's like being innovative enough to think about or being willing to try things that help meet the consumers where they are. This is like a little bit of our data. Like we know what consumers engage in, right? So how do you meet them where they are? How do you help them get into your funnel quickly? And I know, there's 3 different people here that have built tools and solutions to help senior living providers. Seth, you're working on that whole virtual experience, right? Ted's, hey, this is a complex sale. If there's somebody live and I'm ready to talk to somebody live, do you have it available for me? Because I definitely don't want to engage with a chatbot because I'm going to get frustrated if I can't get what I want. So I think at the end of the day, there's these different solutions. So for us, it's really, I think in the end, for the whole industry, it's about how do you create more pull to you versus pushing somebody down a sales path. So Seth, I don't know if you and Dean want to talk a little bit more about the virtual experience. It builds into our navigator as well at Waypoint, but can you talk like a little bit for our viewers on how this really has changed and impact and how it's worked for both of you as partners?
Yeah, a couple observations. Number one, I feel like it's really interesting how many senior living executives I've spoken with in the last several months who have told me, we're really focused on getting people on property. And that's kind of a pushback and knock on immersive tours, virtual tours. But the bottom line is if you're not connecting with your prospective residents and their family members digitally, then you don't ever get the opportunity to connect with them in person. These conversations and the consultative approach and building that connection in person does not happen if you don't optimize your digital presence, if you don't enhance the visitor experience on your website and throughout that digital journey. It's going to limit the number of opportunities your sales team has, and you're going to be competing against communities that have better engagement and that are bringing people down the funnel and making those connections and giving their salespeople the opportunity to make those in-person connections. So I want to make that observation with Dean. We've done with him so far has been really incredible. He's got an incredible brand. What's interesting, Dean, in our conversation we had a few weeks ago, and this hits home for me too, senior living has decades, generations of visuals of people remember being in a nursing home, et cetera, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. These are people in the funnel that are in that process of making these decisions. But you look at Tequesta Terrace here in Alta community, this doesn't look or feel like anything that folks of those generations had experienced decades ago. And I really feel like that is such an important story to tell, is how different the feel, the look and feel of senior living communities are today compared to what they've been in the past, and the tools that Tammy and Dean and others are using to really tell that story has been compelling.
You hit the nail on the head, because even in the licensing and in the legislature, what do we call it? We call it the F word, facility. I've actually spoken to lawmakers that why can't you change it to say something different? Why can't it be an ALC instead of an ALF? I can understand skilled nursing being a facility, but independent living or assisted living, we've kind of migrated over towards the senior living phrasing. And as it relates to explaining the differences in the decades, that's why I cut right across into the adult children, and I say, listen, please understand, when your mom went to go visit your grandmother, she either went to an old hospital that was converted, and depending on how old she is, it could have been an old prison that was converted into a nursing home. They think senior housing or assisted living, which you have to be independent to live in. That's the biggest battle we have, I think. And in terms of the phrasing and the what it's called. And I think Tammy would agree.
I would very much
always get to the daughters and sons and say, and try to make that connection and help them understand. And then when I see the actual resident, I take it a step further and say, this was not what you visited your mother at or your grandmother at. This is a whole different product these days.
And Dean, on that, it's not just even the adult child, or it's when you said it's our legislation, it's our people that are making laws and are not understanding what assisted living, memory cares, independent living is going to be offering to our senior population, which is going to be growing in tenfold in the next few years, where we're going to have more people who are in the elderly age, retired, out of the workforce, and something's going to have to be addressed, and they have to stop lumping us all into nursing facilities, because it's coming.
Right.
And there has to be choice and variety, and there has to be ability for our senior population to be able to afford it. and them sticking everybody into a skilled and paying twice as much and doing that. I don't know. I know Argentum's doing things, and there are places, there are people watching it, but I will always, I say this way too many times, that, we do not put enough emphasis in our senior population or our children. So there's some big gaps in those areas that, and
education, Tammy, are you saying educationally based?
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I mean, we just don't put emphasis on it at all.
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of systemic in our culture, in that, at least here in this country, my experience is let's just take the ultimate, right? To call it that. And forgive me, I know people grow up with one parent or no parent, but I'm just going to make an assumption for this example that I'm about to give. If you're a couple, Tammy and I are married. I have my parents, she has her parents. We're living our life. We have kids. We're having fun. We're going through, everything that a normal couple goes through. Now, maybe dad dies. There's one parent left on one side. I still have the other two parents. One of us has both parents living. And now one of them needs assistance or needs help. So at the end of the day, what ends up happening is the adult children, and I'm in the business and Tammy's in the business, so we're not exactly the right ones as an example for this. But I know she'll agree with me. When that adult child comes through the front door, that's the first time, in most cases. I'm not talking about someone community hopping, right? They're not happy here. They've already been through it. I'm talking about a new family that's looking for the service, that's now for the first time going, oh my God, my dad needs memory care now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're only going to do that in your lifetime, in your entire lifetime, at most 4 times. If you're married happily with your spouse and you're working together. If you are not, and you're a child on your own helping your parents, you might do it twice. No one's going to be an expert in that time.
Yeah.
So everyone that we're dealing with, there is some level of anxiety, especially if they're new coming into, I need my mom to live here now, or she needs memory care. So it's a constant. And I think it's human nature. And I don't know if there's a way to overcome it. Except for like cultures like the Japanese, some of the other cultures in Latin America, where they wouldn't, think in a million years to have their mom live somewhere else other than in their home.
Yeah.
But in this country, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, go ahead, Tammy. Sorry.
It's what I always like to also, on that other aspect of teaching, because like what our sales and marketing people, our community relations people, whatever is the, colorful thing that you call them in your communities, is they get worried about either like bugging the prospect or bugging the family. It's like, no, they are needing your help, and you need to be connecting them, because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know that I always have said, it's like, if we don't act urgently, they will not act urgently. If we don't act as if we need to help them, and that this is something that they need to address and help them understand what they need to be doing and going through, then they don't understand, because it's going to be mainly, like you said, they may be their first time to do it, or maybe you'll get somebody that comes in and says, yeah, I had to do this with my mom, and now I'm helping my wife do this. You get those every once in a while, but still they don't know it all. I mean, they don't know it all, and that's where, we have got to be able to be that resource. It's when you are the salesperson in that community, sometimes you're wearing your teacher hat, sometimes you're wearing your counselor hat, sometimes you have to be, what I say is, mean cop, because one of the brothers or sisters are just being, clueless to the whole situation.
Right.
So you have to be able to be somewhat of a chameleon and go where you need to go to help the family with the situation.
Yeah, we're very aligned. We have the same, we're in the same spot.
That's great. I think too is that, Tammy, I'd love to hear you. I mean, we're coming up on about an hour and 45 minutes. I'm sorry, 45 minutes, not an hour and 45 minutes.
Great. You've been talking for almost 2 hours.
I want to say Ted is speaking way too much.
I know. Ted,
I'm enjoying learning. I'm getting your perspective on the industry. Like, everyone has their own perspective, but I don't learn anything when I'm talking. I have the opportunity to learn from two industry experts. I'm soaking it all in. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. So Tammy, I know that Charter, you and Jane and Stacy, you've been very open and innovative about thinking about how people visit their website. And recently, and Dean, you haven't seen it before, but on the lower right-hand corner here, this is the Waypoint Navigator.
Yeah.
But they have really taken it to a new level on what I would say customizing the Navigator. And Tammy touched in on a little bit, but it's this marriage of self-serve, like meet the customer where they are when they visit the site, give them the self-serve. And we do integrate also with Seth's product as well. And we've talked to Charter about doing some pilots on that well. And it's nice to hear that it's so successful for you, Dean. Tammy, can you talk a little bit about kind of like your philosophy on taking this Navigator and making it kind of like a customizable hub? You talked a little bit about before, but the live chat, having that self-serve plus live chat, how has that worked for you at Charter?
Yeah, I really think that we've really tweaked it, as you know, Terry, in the last year of getting it, because we had some pop-ups. Years past, we would have a pop-up so that it was be about event or something like that. And I think that for the consumer has always been helpful, because when they come to your website, we're all like, even though, our children that we're raising are going to be more ADD than we are, but we're all a little ADD, impatient. We don't want to wait for anything. We want immediate gratification, right? And it's like, I have to help my parents and I have to do this, but I have to do it in between while I'm working, when I've got a minute. So I'm Googling something. So I've always wanted to have something that has a very clear call to action, something that they can click on and get what they need. And we can also get what we need, which is their information, so we can follow up. So, request a visit, that's always the standard thing. I would think every web all has some kind of form filled to say you want to come and tour or do something. The lifestyle quiz is where I first met up with Terri and Brenda and getting that embedded on our website. And then I years ago had these booklets. It was like, how to learn about Alzheimer's or how to pick an assisted living. And when I first started out in senior living, I had these booklets created, and I would put an ad out in the paper, right? And it would have a coupon that they could cut out. And every time I did it, I would get 15 to 20 like people that would actually cut out the coupon for me to mail them the booklet. So I'm like, well, I need to have something that somebody wants, that they'll click on to give me their information to get a download, because we can download it, we can mail it to them, we go out and blitz it to professionals. So we have 2 caregiver guides. We have one that is, it's called Knowledge is Comfort. And it is just, how do I know if my mom needs memory care, assisted living, home care, independent living? It runs the whole gamut. I'm trying to see if I've got one here. I think it's.
So it's like the
content. It's like this. I don't know if you can see it. It's like Knowledge is Comfort. It's a booklet. You can download it, or we give it out. We created it. For Charter, we have all of our communities that have it. And so we did that the first year and found that, wow, people really want to download this. And so when they click on your caregiver guide, we get their email, we try to get their phone number, doesn't always happen, but we always get the email, because the email back for the download, they have to give the correct email so that they can download the booklet. So we have that on there, and now we have 2 caregiver guides. So when you click on that button, you can get either our memory care, because we also have a memory care booklet now that has tips in it for caring for your loved one. So they can download either of them. And so that has been a huge converter for us. And then we have the live chat, and we had a chat company before we had Juvo. But we were paying this monthly fee and really weren't getting a lot of conversions. We weren't really, seeing it work, because we would see that, oh, somebody is a volunteer and they want to volunteer for something like that. But we weren't really seeing the good conversions until we went with Juvo, and we have been very, very pleased. I would say at least 2 or 3 times a month with the other chat company that we use, we would get some kind of complaint or this was happening, and we haven't had any of those with Juvo. So we've been very, very pleased, and we only pay for the chats that chat, that are an actual lead. So I highly, highly recommend that. And then we have our own Ask the Expert.
I love the Ask the Expert. I think that's going to be super successful. I mean, they click on the button and it goes to their email, and they can send an email question directly to you guys. It's so simple and so brilliant. I mean, of course, you have to have somebody to respond to them and respond to them well. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just so simply smart. Is there an SSS? So simply smart.
I don't know.
It gives them a voice.
It gives it a voice, and the Ask the Expert is very supportive, and they can direct to a community if that is needed, but it may not be needed. They may just be the support and get them connected. And, like you said, families don't know what they don't know. They've never done this before. And so if they can just email a question off and it feels not so threatening, then maybe we can help them.
Awesome. I mean, I think at the end of the day, just sharing out some of the successes that you are both seeing in the industry. And I think it's opening, having a dialogue and a partnership. Our relationship with Tammy has been an evolution of understanding how they want to convey their brand and meeting and just trying things that work and then amending if it doesn't work. And I think Seth and Ted would also agree that, that's what we take our pride in. Like, how do we partner? How do we make you better? How do we help you? And I think that everybody that's watching or listening don't be afraid to tell people what your strategy is and what you're trying to achieve, because you never know what a tool can do. I mean, our tool has evolved significantly based on our relationships with people like Tammy. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything else, but I so appreciate you guys joining and just sharing out some insights into the industry. Makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. And it's refreshing to have things like this and for Tammy to share so much. I think we can do better as an industry. I think oftentimes we are looked at as, you're not putting me there. And it's so misunderstood that I think discussions like this can help change that narrative. And my only fear is that once we figure this one out, by the time that I'm ready for assisted living, you're going to have to evolve again.
Oh, yeah.
So, I do appreciate the opportunity, and it was nice meeting you all.